English Grade 6. Today, we're going to describe the characters and setting of the story. It is important to study the characters and settings of the story because characters and settings are part of the important events in the story. Describing the characters helps the readers understand the story. Describing the settings helps the reader understand the characters in the story. Your story setting can have a great impact on the people in your story, how they react, and what they do. After the lesson, you are expected to describe the characters based on the type and kind of major character they portray in the story, their feelings, and characters. You will also describe the settings of the story based on the time and place the story happened. Learners, before we will discuss our new lesson, let's review first how to note important details. Noting important details will help us to perform more difficult comprehension skills like describing, summarizing, and synthesizing. Noting details is about paying attention to some details in the story we read, watch, or even details in the picture. Examples of these details are persons, place, time, reasons, and other details that are answerable by WH and H questions. Let's recall the story of Little Red Riding Hood. You can also see and read the story inside the box in your printed materials, page 1. Little Red Riding Hood was going to her granny's house. A big bad wolf heard about this. He quickly ran to Granny's house. He locked Granny in a cupboard. Then he dressed like Granny. He got into her bed. Red Riding Hood arrived. She saw Granny on the bed. She thought to herself, "That Granny looks different." The wolf could not wait any longer. He jumped out of the bed and tried to grab Red Riding Hood. She screamed loudly. A woodcutter heard her screams. He ran towards the house. He hit the wolf hard. The wolf ran away. He let Granny out of the cupboard. Little Red Riding Hood and Granny thanked the woodcutter. They never saw the big bad wolf ever again. Now, learners, let's note details in the story we read by answering WH and H questions. Question number 1. Who went to Granny's house? Based on the story we read, the answer is Little Red Riding Hood. We use who in asking a question when we want to know about a person. Number 2. What did the wolf do to be like Granny? Based on the story we read, the answer is he dressed like Granny. We use what in asking a question when we want to know about a thing or action. Number 3. Where did Red Riding Hood go? Based on the story we read, the answer is she went to Granny's house. We use where in asking a question when we want to know about a place. Number 4. When did Red Riding Hood visit Granny? Based on the story we read, the answer is she visited Granny in the morning. We use when in asking a question when we want to know about the time, day, or date. Number 5. Why did the wolf go to Granny's house? Based on the story we read, the answer is The wolf was planning to eat Red Riding Hood. We use why in asking a question when we want to know the reason for something. Number 6. How did the woodcutter help Red Riding Hood and Granny? Based on the story we read, the answer is the woodcutter hit the wolf. We use how in asking a question when we want to know the way something happens. Now, learners, for our lesson, kindly read and study the information in your printed materials, page 3. Are you ready, learners? If so, very good. Now, while I read to you the information, please also read the information in your printed materials. I will now read the information. Short story is a literary work created by imagination and fiction based on a real-life event. It is read in a setting that evokes emotion. It has 3 elements: characters, settings, and plot. Let us discuss first one of the elements in the short story, which is character. Character is one of the basic elements of a story. Characters are people, animals, things, or other beings in the story. They perform the actions and speak the dialogue of a story. There are 2 types of characters. One is major character and 2 is supporting character. Major character is the most important character and the center of the story in which they have the most action done. There are 2 kinds of major character: A. Protagonist, B. Antagonist. Protagonist is the major character around which the whole story revolves. Antagonist is a major character or group of characters causes the conflict for the protagonist. The second type of characters is supporting character. Supporting character supports the major characters either in good or bad ways. Learners, remember, characters in a story can be described based on the A. type of character, B. kind of characters they portray in the story. Next element of a short story is setting. Setting is the time and place, or when and where of the story. There are aspects to consider how setting contributes to a story. A. Place. Place is a geographical location where the action of the story takes place. B. Time. Time is the historical period, time of the day or year when the story takes place. Now kindly open your printed materials, page 4. Let's describe the characters and settings of a story. To do that, let's recall the story of Cinderella. Recalling the story of Cinderella through noting details by asking WH and H questions will help us describe the characters and settings of the story. Let's note details in the story Cinderella by answering WH and H questions. Question number 1. Who are the characters of the story? Based on the story Cinderella, the characters are Cinderella, Prince Cedric, Fairy Liabelle, King Simeon, the Queen, Papa Alex, Lady Fressie, Cassandra, Marga, Mozzarella, Cheddar, Ambassador, and the Guards. Next question. Who are the major characters in the story? Based on the story Cinderella, the major characters are Cinderella and Lady Fressie. Learners, Cinderella and Lady Fressie are major characters because they are the most important characters and the center of the story. They are one of the characters in the story with the most actions made. Next question. Who are the supporting characters in the story? Based on the story Cinderella, the supporting characters are Prince Cedric, Fairy Liabelle, King Simeon, the Queen, Papa Alex, Cassandra, Marga, Mozzarella, Cheddar, Ambassador, and the Guards. Learners, these characters are the supporting characters in the story because they support the major characters, either in good or bad ways. Next question. Who is the protagonist in the story? Based on the story Cinderella, the protagonist is Cinderella. Learners, Cinderella is a protagonist in the story because the important events of the whole story revolve around her. Next question. Who is the antagonist in the story? Based on the story Cinderella, the antagonist is Lady Fressie. Learners, Lady Fressie is the antagonist in the story because she causes the suffering of the protagonist in the story. Next question. Where did the story happen? Based on the story Cinderella, the story happened in the kingdom of Andalithia. Next question. When did the story happen? Based on the story Cinderella, the story happened once upon a time. Now kindly open your printed materials, page 7. Let's use a graphic organizer to describe the characters and settings in the story. Kindly take a look and study the graphic organizer that you can see in your printed materials. In the story Cinderella, there are two types of characters: major characters and supporting characters. Cinderella and Lady Fressie are the major characters, Cinderella as protagonist, Lady Fressie as antagonist. The supporting characters are Prince Cedric, Fairy Liabelle, King Simeon, the Queen, Papa Alex, Cassandra, Marga, Mozzarella, Cheddar, Ambassador, and the Guards. The setting of the story is in the kingdom of Andalithia. It happened once upon a time. Now for your activity, kindly open your printed materials, pages 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Now learners, it is time for you to do your activity.